Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. 4. Beyoncé album. 4 is the fourth studio album by American singer Beyoncé. It was released on June 24, 2011, by Parkwood Entertainment and Columbia Records. Following a career hiatus that reignited her creativity, Beyoncé was inspired to create a record with a basis in traditional rhythm and blues that stood apart from contemporary popular music. Her collaborations with songwriters and record producers The Dream, Tricky Stewart and Shea Taylor produced a mellower tone, developing diverse vocal styles and influences from funk, hip-hop, and soul music. Severing professional ties with father and manager Mathew Knowles, Beyoncé eschewed the music of her previous releases in favor of an intimate, personal album. 4's lyrics emphasize monogamy, female empowerment and self-reflection, a result of Beyoncé considering the maturer message to contend artistic credibility. In May 2011, Beyoncé submitted 72 songs to Columbia Records for consideration, 12 of which appeared on the standard edition. 4 was promoted in mid-2011 by television performances and festival appearances, such as Beyoncé headlining Glastonbury Festival set. The album received generally positive reviews by music critics. Several publications included it on their year-end lists. It was her fourth consecutive album to debut at number 1 on the US Billboard 200. And it also reached number 1 in Brazil, France, Ireland, South Korea, Spain, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. 4 spawned the international singles, Run the World, Best Thing I Never Had, Party, Love on Top and Countdown. Love on Top won the Grammy Award for Best Traditional R&B Performance at the 55th annual ceremony. As of December 2015, 4 has sold 1.5 million copies in the United States. Development. Following the release of her third album I Am, Sasha Fierce and a world tour, Beyoncé took a career hiatus in 2010, to live life, and to be inspired by things again. During her hiatus, she killed Sasha Fierce, the alter ego used in her previous album, as she felt she could now merge her two personalities. She severed professional ties with father and manager Mathew Knowles, who had guided her career since the 1990s with Destiny's Child, noting that the decision made her feel vulnerable. In an interview for Complex, Beyoncé expressed dissatisfaction with contemporary radio. She intended to help change that status, commenting, "Figuring out a way to get R&B back on the radio is challenging. With 4, I tried to mix R&B from the 70s and the 90s with rock roll and a lot of horns to create something new and exciting. I wanted musical changes, bridges, vibrato, live instrumentation and classic songwriting." On her website she wrote, "The album is definitely an evolution. It's bolder than the music on my previous albums, because I'm bolder. The more mature I become, and the more life experiences I have, the more I have to talk about. I really focused on songs being classics, songs that would last, songs that I could sing when I'm 40 and when I'm 60. Beyoncé also sought to make more artistic music, rather than purely commercially oriented songs. Although much of 4's inspiration came from touring, traveling, watching rock bands and attending festivals, the album's early musical direction was influenced by Nigerian Afrobeat musician Fela Kuti, whose passion for music motivated Beyoncé. She worked with the band from Fela, the Broadway musical based on Kuti's life. DJ Swivel, one of 4's engineers, later described how Kuti's use of percussion and horns influenced the track, End of Time. In 2015, The Dream revealed that he and Beyoncé had composed a whole album based on Cutis music, although this was scrapped in favor of creating 4, therefore explaining how End of Time became so heavily influenced. She also found additional influences in Earth, Wind and Fire, The Stylistics, Lauryn Hill, Stevie Wonder, and Michael Jackson. She used hip-hop for a broader sound and looked to bring soul singing back, stating, "I used a lot of the brassiness and grittiness in my voice that people hear in my live performances, but not necessarily on my records." Recording. 3 months into her hiatus in March 2010, Beyoncé began recording at JZ's Rock the Mic Studios in New York City. One song, Party, was recorded because she wanted to see what working relationship would develop with engineer DJ Swivel. Kanye West assisted the production of Party, after Beyoncé was impressed by his work on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Andre 3000, the only featured artist on 4, contributed a rap verse to the song, which he recorded in Georgia, U.S. 6 weeks later. In May 2010, she asked Swivel to work on the entire project. Concerning his working relationship with Beyoncé, he commented, "There was no, we're doing this today, it was a very kind of open project, where whatever she felt like recording at the time was what would work on. It was based on how she felt, her mood, and also her listening to the demos that writers would give us." With Swivel, she experimented with horns, drums, guitars and percussion instruments. Mostly inspired by the Fela sessions, Swivel began to formulate beats using their own recordings and those from Fela. The project was moved to KMA Studios for a week and a half because Rock the Mic was not large enough. There they began recording I Care, Best Thing I Never Had and Rather Die Young, and completed Party. They recorded the songs Schoolin', Life, 1+1 and Start Over at Jungle City Studios in New York. MSR Studios was the final New York City-based studio used, and where most of 4 was recorded. Only Party and I Was Here were recorded entirely at other studios. At MSR, Beyoncé emphasized the use of live instruments on songs such as I Care and End of Time. Consequently, most of the instruments, including drums, keyboards, guitar, and bass work, were recorded there and performed by Jeff Bashker and Shea Taylor. Beyoncé asked Frank Ocean to write and record I Miss You at MSR, saying to Complex, "Jay-Z had a CD playing in the car one Sunday when we were driving to Brooklyn. I noticed his tone, his arrangements, and his storytelling. I immediately reached out to him, literally the next morning. I asked him to fly to New York and work on my record." After listening to each song, Beyoncé would often request the addition of specific instruments, leaving her production team to make the sounds cohesive. Her vocals were recorded through an Avalon Design 737 preamp and compressed in a 1176 peak limiter, with a 4:1 ratio. After recording the lead vocals for a track, Swivel cut them in different ways, and he and Beyoncé picked the best, then recording the backing vocals. Beyoncé composed her own vocal arrangements and harmonies for each song. Her microphones were carefully placed to achieve a blend of sounds with a clear quality. Swivel spoke of her work ethic in an interview for Sound on Sound, after the move to MSR. Beyoncé and her production team began traveling. In the United Kingdom, they worked at Peter Gabriel's Real World Studios in Wiltshire, particularly using Gabriel's multi-instrument room to create Love on Top. Soon after, Beyoncé joined Jay-Z in a Sydney mansion. as he was working on his collaboration album Watch the Throne with Kanye West. There they created a primitive studio, using a microphone, a rig out and Pro Tools software to record. Sessions were also held in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Atlanta and Honolulu. In February 2011, MTV reported the project was nearing completion. 4 was mixed mostly at Mixstar Studios in Virginia and mastered at Sterling Sound in New York City. The audio mastering was delayed by a week following the unexpected recording of I Was Here. Diane Warren had played the song to Jay-Z during a telephone conversation, leading him to put Warren and Beyoncé in contact. In May 2011, Beyoncé submitted 72 songs in preparation for the album's release. According to Swivel, an eclectic range of songs were recorded, including ballads, weird ethereal things and 1990s R&B and Afrobeat-inspired songs. Columbia Records were reportedly overwhelmed with the sheer volume of material she presented to them. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.